Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. You're watching the Positive Vibes podcast. I am your host, Kelly Fitzgerald. And with me today is someone I have considered a friend for years, even though we've never met in person. Uh, Heather Corinne Lang. And I add the middle name in there because there are, like Kelly Fitzgerald, Heather Lang is a very common name. So thank you so much for being on the show today.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm really excited because we always have such great conversations.
Yeah, we do. And we both do kind of similar things, but everyone who does energy work does it a little bit differently. And that's
Hmm.
kind of what makes us us. So
Yes.
let's start there. Let's talk about energy. I'm afraid to
Yeah.
shake my table. So
Right.
trying to, yeah,
We always get that question about, well, what is energy and how does energy work, right?
right,
And I like to tell people that we're all energy, frequency, and vibration. And everything in this world is energy, frequency, and vibration.
right.
And, if you know Tesla, you should know that, right?
Yeah,
Because that's all he ever used to talk about. And for me, it's explaining it in little ways. Like energy makes our computers work,
right,
right? Energy makes our refrigerators work. Energies make us work because we have electrical impulses. We're electrical beings. So the electrical impulses make our hearts beat, right? Makes our bloods flow because of that, excuse me. And then it also makes our brains function. We have all these electrical impulses in our brain, and that's why we can think, right? So when we start there and think about it, energy, frequency, and vibration makes up different types of items, people, situations,
right,
if
right,
you will, right? And, being able to feel energy is one thing, right? When the wind blows, you feel energy. You can't see the wind blow.
right,
You can see the trees move, but you can't see the wind blow,
right, right.
right? And so that's energy. And that's our earth creating energy. It's a huge torus field. We can talk about that another time because that's getting a little more technical.
Right,
Um,
right,
but we have to eat food to fuel ourselves, right? Right? We feel low energy. Well, you might need some water, you might need some food. It helps our energy come up because we're energy beings.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then if you ever had that instance when you're like, oh, you start thinking about somebody, like maybe it's a friend, and then they call you, you're feeling their energy coming to you from their mind because they're thinking about you, and you can pick it up. And that happens to people all the time.
it does. And I think it's interesting. Clients or students rather that I have worked with,
Mhm.
they start going into studying about energy and how things work. And if you
Yeah.
want something, you need to make sure you're vibrating at the same level as whatever it is. And then they will come to me and say, I don't know what's happening to me. The phone rings and I know who's calling me before the phone rings. And it is the funniest thing to me because
Yes.
it's tapping into energy. That's all that's happening.
That's all that's happening. Yeah, and that's the same thing. Like I don't it's not a great example, but when you go into a funeral home because you're going to somebody's funeral, right? Everybody feels sad and you can start to feel the sadness,
Right,
right? But
right,
on the flip side, if you go to a concert and everybody's happy, you start to get lifted up. You start to feel that happy energy,
right,
so that's you being able to feel it even if you're not aware of it.
right,
And the more
right.
you're aware of it, right?
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
how would you advise someone to start working with energy? I always use Reiki as an example because I'm a Reiki master, but there are many different forms of energy work.
Right.
What should someone start out with?
Well, I ended up starting out with yoga.
Hmm.
It was 25 years ago because that actually can help you with your energy, which helps you with your meditation.
Right.
And the more you can learn how to meditate, the more you're going to start picking up on energy, right? Because you're in a quiet space and you can start, feeling the energies coming towards you. People like to say, prayer is asking,
Mhm.
meditation is receiving.
Right.
Right. So I always tell people, if you don't want to start with yoga because I'm not flexible enough. Well, yoga makes you flexible, just
Yes,
FYI.
it does. Yeah.
Go for a walk outside and count your steps.
Hmm.
Get you in a meditative state. It gives your mind something to do, right? Gives your brain something to do because our brains are always wanting to function. They're always wanting to do, think about something. Try going to sleep after you've had an argument with somebody, right? And, so having that ability to just count the steps actually puts you in that meditative state of mind. And again, I did that for years and years and years and years because it really did help me. I'd go out in the woods and walk around and count my steps
Yeah.
while I was doing, yoga as well, just to be able to get more intuitive and be able to receive, like we're all intuitive, but be able to receive the energy. So once you start receiving that message, that's actually energy coming to you that your brain is then processing because, your mind's processing because your brain has something else to do.
Yeah. And
That's how it usually start.
no, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's it, please.
No, I was going to say that's kind of trips people up because they don't realize your brain is connected to your body.
Yeah. Yeah.
How is walking going to help me be more mindful? I'm just walking. That's how it does it.
That's how it does it.
Yeah.
Yes. And if you don't understand it, try it.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Do it for a couple of weeks and then see how you feel, see what's going on. It's going to be different. You might not completely still understand how it works, but you're going to start to get it.
Right.
Right? Because people don't get Reiki. They're like, I don't understand. Well, let me give you a
No,
sample.
yeah, you don't have to understand how it works.
You
And
just have to
you just
feel
have
it.
to trust it. Allow yourself, be open to it.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
I'm sure you have encountered the skeptic as well. But I've had some skeptics on my Reiki table, and they're like, I don't know what you're doing. I'm not even touching you, but I don't
Yeah.
know what you're doing.
Yeah.
By the time they leave, they're like, oh, maybe there's something to this.
Right. Exactly. And one of my friends, she's from a corporation I used to work with. I used to just lead yoga classes there after work, right? And she decided to come because she knew it made me feel better. So she
Mhm.
came, right? And after years and years of coming, she knew as a Reiki master too, but she rolled her three-wheeler and yeah, hurt her ribs, hurt her hip. And she was walking over like an old person, like all hung, hung forward and everything because it hurt so bad. And the doctor's like, well, just keep taking pain medication. That's
Yeah.
all he to do, right? So she finally calls me and she says, can I try Reiki? I said, you can try Reiki whatever you want. So she came over, walking, she probably could have used a cane because she was really in a lot of pain. We got her up on the table. I lowered it to make it easier for her. And then we did a few stretches, yoga stretches afterwards.
Mhm.
And she's like, I feel 90% better just getting off that table before you did the stretches. She goes, I'm a believer.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's a believer. And she came back like 2 or 3 times a week in a row, like every week for, 3 times in a row. And she was like, I'm 100% better. And it's never come back. She's never had a hip problem. She's never had her spine out of whack. None of these things. So she was just badly, badly bruised.
Yeah.
She
And
needed that extra energy to help her body heal itself.
I think that's my biggest disappointment in Western medicine, actually. Here, take a pill. Here, take another
Right. Take a pill. Take
side
a pill.
effect from that pill, take this pill.
Right.
And you
Right.
end up with people who have, 20 or 30 pills that they have to take. And
Yeah.
uh,
And
you
it's too many.
it's not
Yeah.
good. Um,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I
I agree.
it always puzzles me why they don't look at other modalities.
Right.
Maybe it'll help. Who knows? Let's try
Right.
it. But
Right.
they just don't. They seem to be very stuck. And
Yes.
my experience last year really brought that home to me. I've always been a more naturally oriented person.
Yes.
And to be in a position where I was sort of helpless and
Hmm.
doctors were doing whatever they wanted to do. And I'm like, when I finally got out of that situation, I was like, nope, not taking that, not taking that.
Yeah.
And it was just, I felt so
Exactly.
much better just
Right.
not doing that. Um,
Correct.
it's just amazing. I
Yeah.
don't understand how people don't get that.
Right. Right. I
It-
know.
yeah.
And, and I use the Dr. Phil, phrase, oh, I'm taking all these pills. I still don't feel good. I'm like, well, how's that working for you?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, yeah,
then I'm like, are you ready to try something else?
yeah. Yeah, and then you get into the addiction part of taking so many pain pills. And it's
Yeah,
just, I think in Western medicine, we create more problems for ourselves. And,
we
you know,
do.
there's a better way, guys. There's a better
Right,
way.
right, right. And it seems like when it first started, there were things that helped the body,
Right,
and they were able to get off of them, like penicillin, for
right,
instance. Right. So there were some things that did help, but I think right now it's just like this endless vicious circle that people can't get out of
right,
unless they're willing to try something outside the box.
right. And it goes into one thing that I want to talk to you about, because I know you know this, even though we've never discussed it, is the energy in our food.
Yes.
You are only consuming highly processed garbage, you're not
Yes.
going to feel well. Food should be looked at as medicine too. So,
Yes.
what do you think about the energy that food? People just don't understand it. They don't get it.
They don't get it either. Yeah. And it's like even like just having like an apple, right?
Right,
And having vegetables and even like organic meats if you like meat. It makes such a difference in how you feel, right? It just makes such a difference. And it's not, even just as organic as you can, but if not organic, then natural, you
right,
know. We don't want bagged carrots. We want the carrots with the green still attached to
right.
them.
Those are edible too, by the way. Yeah.
Right. you know, and yeah, exactly. Put them in a smoothie. They're great. And any of these things just really help raise the vibration. And even just that then helps you start to feel a different energy.
Yeah.
Even, getting off of sugar,
Yeah.
right?
Big
I
one.
mean, that changes your whole outlook. Sugar causes inflammation.
Yeah.
Well, so if you're eating processed sugared products or processed fake sugar products, your body's going to create more inflammation. You're not going to feel good.
Right. And for
Yeah.
someone with autoimmune issues, that is
Mhm.
huge. That was a game changer for me personally.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
my body collects the whole set of autoimmune issues. You know,
Oh no.
I have combinations that when I got the diagnosis, I'm like, is that even possible? Well, it is for you. So
Right.
then, then I started looking at food
Yeah.
because my mother was the original junk food junkie, and that's
Oh,
what we were raised on. You
yeah.
know, oh, you don't want anything in the house? Here's $1. Go to McDonald's. No,
No,
you know,
please don't. Yeah. And
it's
that's worse than it was when it first started, you know?
yeah. But that's how. So I never learned about food, and
Mhm.
I was literally in a garden one time, and I had been meditating in the garden. I like to do these things outside, and
Yeah.
I swear I heard the carrot talk to me.
I'm
And
sure
I
you
was a
did.
little kid when this happened, and I was like,
Uh-huh.
hi, you know.
Yeah.
But I kind of learned by default that animal, not only animals, not only people, but plants also
Yeah.
have a soul, and they are also here for a purpose. And in the
Right.
case of that particular vegetable, I learned
Mhm.
they're here to serve us. And
Yes.
somehow we get away from that as we
Right.
grow up, and we really need to
Yes.
get back to
Yeah.
realizing that
Mhm.
fruits and vegetables, they are
Yeah.
put here for us. And
They
we
are
just
for
look at them
us.
and go, no, I don't want that. I'm going to get this candy bar over here. And
Yeah.
that has to stop. Uh,
Yes, it does. Yeah. And I read this little book, and this was years and years and years ago, one of the chiropractors I used to see way back then, but it was a little book that she had found. And I always remember that the oranges now that are, mass produced have like 5 milligrams of vitamin C.
right, right,
They used to have 500.
right.
I'm like, what? you know? So again, as organic as you can, is always a great thing because you don't want to eat, 100 oranges to get the same effect.
Well, and if you're not eating organic, the pesticides, the fertilizers, all of that stuff is not
Yes.
good for our bodies either.
No, absolutely not.
When I
Toxic
was
overload makes your energy low.
Yes, yes, it does. When I was trying to regain some semblance of health, I'm not there yet, but it's a process. Um,
Yes.
I started doing something. One of my early on mentors in energy work, she taught a bunch of different technology or
Uh-huh.
modalities, but I gravitated towards Reiki. And
Mhm.
I've always been kind of obsessed with that kind of culture.
Yes.
Anyway, the Japanese, the
Right.
Chinese, I've always been obsessed with that. So for me, that was a natural fit. But she
Hmm.
told me early on, Reiki your food. When you're trying to recover, even if you're not, even if you're perfectly fine, Reiki
Right.
your food. And I
Yes.
thought that was just such a simple thing that people
Yes.
can do,
Right.
you know.
Anything you drink or eat. Yes.
Yeah. So
Yep.
that's something I started teaching my students, not just through Reiki, but even if you're just I'm setting the intention that my body is getting all the good nutrients from this apple or whatever
Right.
it is.
Right.
That is just as effective. Uh,
Exactly. Exactly. And you can start even like with tarot cards or crystals, if you want that, happy family, you can get a glass of water and put that card underneath it and let it sit overnight.
yep,
And have the intention, the energy of that card is going to go in the water. I'm going to drink the water, and it's going to have a happier energy around the family.
right.
Right. Or if even with the stones too, the crystals, you can do those things and you can look up what they mean,
Yeah.
and most of them you can stick right in the water and let it sit there overnight.
Yeah, you have to be careful putting crystals in water, but yeah, most of them you can. Um,
Yeah.
one thing that I always find so funny is people will come to me and say, I was in this store and I'm just walking by and this rock jumped out at me.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay,
Did you pick it up?
did you buy it? Did you take it home with you? Because that is definitely, even in a library. I was walking through a library with a kid one time, picking up
Hmm.
books for a project for her class. And
Yeah.
this book just slid off the shelf and landed on the floor. And she picked it up and she looked at it and she went, this is in the wrong place, but this is the right book. There you go. Don't
Exactly.
discount those things. Those little
Right.
synchronicities are so important to pay
Right.
attention to.
Right. They really are. And those are messages, which are energy as well.
Right.
You who pushed that book? Some energy. you
Yeah.
know, some energy did it, and you might not be able to see all the energies like the wind, but you can definitely feel the effects.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything it would you mentioned cards and one of the things that I've had a whole bunch of questions about, how do you choose what deck to start with? Now,
Yes.
I've always been the, oh, look, butterflies, I'll get that, that kind of a person. But is there anything that you do that is kind of different? Because I think you use a dragon oracle deck.
I was doing the Dragon Oracle deck last year when it was the year of the dragon. I was
Yeah,
doing that pretty much every Wednesday. But when I do readings, I do tarot cards, and I've really liked John Holland's tarot cards because I think anybody can use them
right,
because the picture tells the story of what the card's supposed to be.
right.
And it's called the psychic tarot.
Mhm.
And I love those cards, especially for people who aren't familiar with how tarot works or what the pictures are, because they can get kind of scared of the pictures sometimes. They're like, oh my God, it's the devil. It's like, well, it's not too bad.
Right, right. It can be a
you
good
know,
thing. Yeah, yeah,
it can be anything and it's going to depend on this, that, and the other. But so those ones I think are really great because they give you that image, but they also tell you what a basic, phrase of what it is.
right,
So if you're looking to start with them, I'd start with those. And or any oracle card, like you said, you like butterflies, go get a butterfly oracle cards,
right.
and start with those. And I actually bought those dragon cards just for last year.
Yeah. Well, it was. I have that oracle deck as well, and I like them because they're a little bit different, but
Different.
they can be quite accurate.
Right.
I got into a habit years and years, well, decades ago now,
Yeah.
of pulling a card every morning. Just
Yeah.
give me something, and
Some,
it's been really, really accurate, that deck in
yeah.
particular.
It's so
But,
helpful.
it can be a guide for you. I don't, well, I do sometimes use them in readings too, but
Yeah.
I don't necessarily read cards for people
Yes.
anymore.
Right.
I use them as a tool like anything else.
Same.
Anything can be a tool. But
Yeah.
for me personally, it's
Hmm.
my own guidance. And I think that's a key thing I want people to take away from it. You can read a bazillion books that tell you how to
Right.
do things. Do what
Yes.
resonates with you.
Right.
You know, I
Right.
think that's the big thing is people
Correct.
need to pick, I have a student that loves cats. She has probably 13, 14 different cat decks of
Hmm.
different things. I'm like, where did you find that many decks of cats?
Right.
But there are so many out there. And I think some of them are maybe a little easier, like the one you
Yes.
mentioned,
Right.
than
Yeah.
others.
Yeah. If you're just gonna go right into like the old school one, you're gonna get maybe a little lost, because you're
Yeah,
not, or whatever. But again, if you go to ones that are actually helping guide you a little bit,
right.
right? And I never learned how to read tarot. I just did it,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
me too.
You
Yeah,
know, I just did it.
yeah,
And it's like, what's the picture look like? How does it make you feel? What was the question that you asked? What did you want to know for the day? And it just gives that little bit of a guidance, like you said, each day if you're looking for some help.
yeah. I've had so much upheaval. We'll be nice and call it upheaval over the last many, many years now that
Right.
for me, it became important to just, that's kind of my way of connecting. Okay, you guys are here. Okay, great. Let's move
Yes.
on with the day. And I think
Correct.
if people look at it more as you're
Hmm.
connected, you're
Yes.
receiving a message. Uh,
Yes.
that's, I think, a more positive way to start out in.
Right.
Uh,
Yes.
you know,
And
I,
that can help with the energy too.
yeah,
You're starting to, it's almost like you feel a certain way and a card pops up and it's a confirmation now.
right, right, exactly,
It's an energy. That's an energy. They're like, it's almost like the deck, which is also energy, even though it's a solid thing in this reality.
right. Yeah,
Here's you.
yeah, I think any place, someone on a spiritual journey, I work with a lot of beginners, and, someone who's just starting out, everything is so overwhelming. You need to do this Tai Chi and that yoga and this, and
Mhm.
it's too much for a beginner. You have
Yes.
to really learn to pick and choose, learn what resonates with you,
Right. Right.
and you're not really going to know unless you kind of look at everything, I think.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
you can't start out trying to be a master of everything. Tiny
No.
steps.
Tiny steps.
Yeah,
Exactly. And I started with going to readers before I even became a Reiki master.
yeah.
And that particular person who, funny enough, has just texted me, um, he would tell you to get a certain stone, a certain crystal to help you with how the reading went. Like if something came out in the reading, well, you need to do like the very first stone he ever gave me was lapis lazuli. He's
Uh-huh.
like, too much up here and not enough down here. He
Right,
goes, sleep with it and it'll help bring these two things together. So you're leading from the heart instead of the brain.
right.
And that was huge. That was
Yeah,
something huge. I'm like, okay, I'll try
yeah,
it.
it's the little things like that that really do. One of the first, I collect rocks. You do not want to go for a hike in the woods with me because I will come back with a backpack that weighs 35 pounds from the, oh, look, it's a pine cone. Oh, look, it's an interesting stick. Oh, look, it's a rock, and that's me. But
Yeah.
so many beginners don't get that. I've
Mhm.
had students that live in the center of New York City.
Yes.
And she's like, "I can go to the park, but beyond
Yeah.
that, you know."
Right.
So you
Yeah.
have to I know you have plants behind
Right.
you. Those
Lots of
things,
plants.
bringing it inside, I
Yes.
think is very helpful for people.
Yeah. Absolutely. It really does help raise the energy because they are of energy of nature.
Yeah,
And nature in and of itself is healing,
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
and if people just do those, one little thing, like you said, like take one little thing that we've talked about today and be like, I'm gonna try that for a while and see how
right,
it works, and if that doesn't work, try something else.
yeah. And if something doesn't work for you, I've had people call me, "I'm a failure. It doesn't work for me." Try something else. You're not a failure. This
No,
is,
exactly.
you know,
That's not your thing. And when you use that word resonate,
right,
resonate is feeling the energy like it feels good to you,
right,
right? If it resonates with you, if you have people around you that you don't like, you might not be resonating with them. You're
right.
not the same vibration, frequency, energy.
Yeah, and that's
Mhm.
fine. And what I found personally is things that didn't resonate with me 30 years ago do now.
Yes,
So we are always growing and evolving and learning, and
absolutely.
can't discount that.
Right. Exactly.
If you look back at who you were and what you were doing 10 years ago, you realize how much you've grown and changed. You
Yes.
know, it's like, really,
Absolutely.
I did that? I don't even remember that, And-
Right, right.
But
I agree. Yes.
I think people need to cut themselves some slack.
Yes.
This is not
Yeah.
one size fits all. It is not an
Right.
instant thing. It is a
Right.
process. We are
Exactly.
learning till the day we die. And if
Right.
you die and come back, then you pick up where you left off and you use it.
Right. Yeah, you do. And don't be your own worst enemy.
No, no.
How would you treat your loved ones? How would you treat your child? How would you treat your mom who's sick? All these things. Treat yourself that way. Treat
Right.
yourself like your own best friend.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that just in and of itself will change your vibration and help you feel more energy.
Yeah, it definitely will. I think the big thing is people need to start, you know,
Yes.
just start
Mhm.
one step, just take one
One
step.
little thing. Yes. Yeah.
Where can people find you?
I am, you can find me on namasterays.com.
Mhm.
Okay. So namaste like yoga, rays, rays.com. And I have lists there of things, and you can find my Instagram, you can find my Facebook. My Instagram account right now, I put a lot of stuff on, it feeds to my personal Facebook. So I can always send my personal Facebook out to people too.
So we're about out of time. That went so fast.
It did go fast.
We're going to
I know. The
have to
last
do
time
this
we were on
again.
the phone, it was like 2 hours, and you're like, oh, I'm like, oh my gosh, I gotta go work.
Yeah, no, I always set it for the maximum time that I can because
Mhm.
you just never know. And,
Right.
you know,
Absolutely.
it's just, I think we've given people an awful lot to think about in just a
Absolutely.
short amount of time. And
Yeah.
we'll do it again. So if you've been watching and you missed something, you can, reach out. We'll answer your questions. And
Yes.
just know that we'll be back. We'll be back. We'll do this again.
We're back. Yes.
So
Thank you so
thank you
much,
guys.
Kelly.
Oh, thank you for being on. Thank you guys for watching. We'll
Yes.
see you next time.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye for now.